Well, I like to say these people always eat each other, and I can't think of a more deserving bunch of people. If you didn't hear, and I don't know how you couldn't, it was everywhere, Ruby Rose, former lead actor of Batwoman, released a statement yesterday at the time I'm recording this, detailing her horrible experience working on the show and why she left, citing a terrible working environment, unsafe conditions leading to several people incurring horrific injuries, sexual harassment, showrunner Caroline Dries being a monster who didn't care about the well-being of the cast and crew. There's a lot in this statement, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's pretty long and it's all kind of appalling, but there are some choice bits here I'd like to point out. A crew member got third-degree burns over his whole body. A woman was left quadriplegic. Caroline Dries has no heart and wanted us to finish the season throughout the pandemic. Caroline Dries maybe visited the set 4 times in a year, but in those 4 to 5 visits, she decided she could tell me she knew my injury happened on set, so I should comply with the PI, yet later denied it entirely and said it happened during yoga. LOL, I don't do yoga. They ruined Kate Kane, and they destroyed Batwoman. Stop asking if I will return to that awful show. I wouldn't return for any amount of money, nor if a gun were to my head. Here's the thing. I have no doubt that a good deal of this is true, but Ruby Rose has given multiple, completely different explanations about why she left the show. First it was the long hours. Then it was me and the producers agreed that we'd done everything we could do with the character. Then it was I was allergic to the costume. Now it's this. And there have been a lot of contradictions in all this stuff too. I mean, it wasn't that long ago when she said she was open to returning to the show. So you need to take all this with a big grain of salt. The studio went into denial mode pretty quickly, as did the people she accused of various things. Dougray Scott and Cameron Johnson basically said she's full of crap. It's all he said, she said at this point, and we don't know what the real truth actually is. We do know there have been multiple injuries on the set. That's been documented. We know the producers and writers are politically driven hacks who ruined the Kate Kane character. That's impossible to deny. The stuff about the lack of COVID precautions seems very likely considering the relatively short period they were shut down, and the general feeling seems to be that the show is an absolutely miserable place to work, or at least it was for Ruby Rose. If that's not true, I don't know what is. Now, maybe it was a case where Ruby being miserable made everyone around her miserable? One of the early rumors after she left the show suggested that was the case, but the only ones who know for sure are the ones who were there. So Ruby Rose doesn't have a whole lot of credibility here, but I do believe at least parts of what she said in this statement, because it's pretty much exactly what people like me and Heel vs. Babyface have been saying this whole time. Batwoman is a terrible show. It's run by despicable people who have no talent, no care for their own craft, or, as it turns out, even the health and safety of their own employees. I mean, if you read this whole thing, it's pretty unnerving. How she was forced back to work 10 days after neck surgery under threats that if she didn't, everyone would be fired and she'd cost the studio millions. The PA who wound up in a wheelchair and had to start a GoFundMe because the studio wouldn't cover her medical expenses, being so traumatized by the experience that she can't open a script without having panic attacks. That last one might just be her being a diva, but this is disturbing stuff. If it's true. And look, you guys know I'm not Ruby Rose's biggest fan, but no one deserves this. Now, whether she's making stuff up or stretching the truth or not, it's pretty clear that some kind of bad shit went down over there. And knowing the stuff we've all been saying was likely right to some extent, and how intolerable her time on the show was because of the working environment being so unprofessional, even if it's not clear exactly who the unprofessional party was, it has made me consider what I do with these Batwoman videos, and if I should continue making them. Because even though I do it to deservedly destroy this putrid show on a weekly basis, doing that is still giving them attention, which, after reading all this, makes me uncomfortable. But maybe we should be drawing attention to this. That's why Ruby Rose put this out there, because if you don't draw attention to it, then nothing changes. And if there is any truth to what she said, someone's gotta call them out and continue calling them out until they get held accountable. So for the time being, I'm gonna keep making these videos. 1, because you guys enjoy them, and 2, because People need to know the truth. They need to know what this garbage production really is and how loathsome the people at the top who make it are. And if we keep calling them out, keep drawing attention to their awful behavior, maybe someone with enough influence will eventually get rid of these people so what Ruby Rose claims she went through doesn't happen to anyone else. But to anyone out there who's still a fan of the CW's Batwoman, and judging by the ratings there aren't many left, if you still want to support it, that's your business. But I don't see how anyone possibly could for any number of reasons. And if even half of what Ruby Rose said in this statement is true, then these people should be blacklisted from ever working in Hollywood again. So the next time you turn on Batwoman, just think about that. Think about what you're watching. Think about why Ruby Rose isn't there anymore. Think about all the horror stories from the set, what those crew members have gone through at the hands of these incompetent dirtbags from the network, and think about if that's something you want to support when even the original lead actor of the show, who once upon a time described it as a dream project, is now putting her own career at risk to bury it. Just think. That's all I'm asking. Do what the makers of Batwoman have never done, and use what you got in here and in here. That's it. Thanks for letting me get that off my chest. And now, back to reviewing stuff. I'll see you soon.